Welcome to the Reddit library. What is the biggest act of passive aggressiveness you've ever witnessed or done? Me, I can do this for you, but you're behind on your invoices. You really need to get caught up. Client, how much do we owe you? Me, including this last job, it's client, okay, I'm confident we can get that to you by the end of next week. Me, hello, just following up to see where we are on that payment. Client, hey, our site is down. Can you get it back up for us? Me, I'm confident I can get it back up by the end of next week. I tried that once, when I first got out of college. It was a website for a non-profit my mom had volunteered at, and I was wanting more real work for my portfolio, so I was charging dirt cheap prices. Repeatedly tried contacting to get my payment and never received anything. I eventually took the page down and left up a message to contact the website designer. It was fairly quickly replaced by a new website. It wasn't my domain, so nothing I could do about that, and didn't think it worth while to pursue legal action. Very likely would have spent more on legal fees than anything I might have gotten from the guy, but a large reason I have no desire to ever try to get back into that field. Long time ago, in my first managerial position, I had a boss who got pissed off at me for somewhat ridiculous reasons. I was trying to plan out a potential project with one of my staff members and my boss overheard us. He assumed we were going to skip other work to get this request done, when, in fact, avoiding that was exactly why I was having the meeting. At any rate, he came in and absolutely dressed me down in front of my project guy. After shift change I went to his office, and he told me he didn't want me to make any decisions without running them past him first, so for the next week literally every decision I made I paged him first. Like, can Tom take his break halt an hour early, or could Sally have extra supplies? 1 week later he blew up at my co-supervisor at a staff meeting saying, seriously, you all need to be able to make some decisions yourselves. So, my passive-aggressive response worked just fine. Malicious compliance is so satisfying. I live in a house with thin walls and squeaky floors. My housemate, whose room is across from mine, has always been active at night. That's when he practices his singing, makes phone calls, and stomps around the house, slamming the doors behind him. It was a little annoying but harmless, until I started my surgery clerkship last month. This meant waking at 4 in the morning every Monday through Saturday. A few days before I was to begin, I spoke with my housemate and gave him a heads up, asking very politely if he could keep it down after 9 PM. In return, I would be as quiet as possible in the morning and move my morning routine, shower, lunch prep, to the evening. He agreed, but didn't actually change anything. 3 days into my first week of surgery, after one too many instances of our bathroom's door being slammed too hard late at night, I decided to move my shower to 3:30 AM and parked directly outside of his bedroom window. The car is old and the engine loud. It took just over a week of being woken at 3:30, but he's now quiet by 8. Which is weird, because I notice how loud I'm when everyone else is quiet. It's like taking the pot off of the coffee maker is the same as a bunch of pots crashing to the floor. For a programming class, me and some friends created a tic-tac-toe bot that always ended games in a draw. It wasn't designed to win, only to end games in a draw. The real game would be trying to lose. Would you like to play a game, David? The best way to be passive aggressive to a trophy store is to order a worst trophy shop trophy and then never pick it up. I like John Steinbeck's idea of getting revenge on a bank by depositing a fresh salmon in your safe deposit box and going away on vacation. I used to write Wells Fargo is the devil on every single Google review to all of the Wells Fargo branches in my area. I just want to get it into people's head that Wells Fargo is the devil. Plot twist: Wells Fargo uses your Google name to open a secret account and charge you. It was at work. I bake stuff and bring it in for my coworkers pretty frequently. One of our administrators brought in some brownies on a day that I had brought in cookies. She took that personally and actually removed my cookies from the common area and hid them in her office so that only her brownies were available. So I went to her office, reclaimed my Tupperware, and told her I'd keep the cookies in my office till her brownies were gone. On the way out of her office, the systems guys came by like, "Dude, where'd the cookies go? We thought they were out. Can we have some?" Of course, I said yes, and passed out cookies while half standing in our administrator's office while she stared daggers at me. This is the weirdest office rivalry ever. I wouldn't even call it a rivalry. It was definitely weird, though a 50-year-old woman hiding Tupperware because she was insecure about her brownies? Why not have both cookies and brownies? Who is going to complain about having too much free food? This is a little specific, but a chef I used to work with was really annoyed at the other chef that worked on his section. It was a quiet Sunday night, so he did every bit of prep possible for the section. The other guy comes in Monday morning and spends 12 hours there bored crudless because he had nothing to do, and company rules ban phones in the kitchen. This is so subtle and impossible to rightfully revenge. How would you even properly complain about that? That douchebag is doing so much work, I don't have to do anything. It's the worst. I feel like being bored at work is worse than being busy at work though, mostly because you have to be there, you can't just leave. I used to do laundry at a funky mat in the UK. For some reason, they put a 15-inch shelf below the doors of the dryers for people to put their baskets on as they emptied the dryer. On a very busy day, one jackass decided to fold his clothes individually in this shelf instead of moving everything to a table and freeing up the dryer. To make things worse, he was minutely examining every item he pulled out of the dryer. A woman very nicely asked him if he wouldn't mind moving to a table so she could use the dryer. This elicited an astonishing display of profanity and rudeness that had me wondering if this guy had Tourette's or something. The lady realized she was dealing with an asshole and backed off, rather disappointingly, I thought. She found another dryer and sat down again. A few minutes later, jackass finishes his folding and, still blocking the dryer with all the folded crud, goes to get a rolling cart to take his stuff to the car. Lady sees her chance and grabs it, opens the dryer door, throws in all his carefully folded stuff and feeds the coin slot. The guy went ballistic when he came back, but somehow no one in the entire place had seen what happened. I love the image of a bunch of laundry room customers of all ages and races uniting together in silence to complicity duck over this douchebag and not tell him what happened. When I was still married, my ex's parents' Christmas gift to us one year was that they offered to pay for me to have a vasectomy. We hadn't discussed anything, even broaching that subject with them. Guess they really wanted to finish tying the knot. Personally, I asked my girlfriend at the time if she would mind if I hung out with my ex and some friends after school. A simple no would have sufficed. Instead, she responded with, "I don't mind. I guess I'll hang out with my friend Eric. We usually get drunk and make out. How is that passive?" My high school chemistry teacher hated my friends and me. We started it all by being high school idiots, but we were going to finish it as well. My friend would often crumple up his lab sheet and then flatten it out before handing it in. After doing this a couple of times, she said he would get a 0 the next time he did it. So after we finished our next lab, he asked to go to the bathroom. He takes his sheet to the library, crumples it up, flattens it out, and then photocopies it. Comes back and turns in the crumpled looking piece of paper. Truly inspired. This made me laugh out loud. The best one here. I was working during the morning at the counter, and we just opened the shop. Not even around 20 minutes has passed, and this older lady comes up to the counter with her granddaughter and shows me her old battery in her hand with a pissed off look in her face, like I peed in her cereal. I stare at her for a couple of seconds, and she sighs, pauses, and then says, "Batteries?" I stare at her, and with the politest tone I could muster I tell her they are just in front of the counter around 2 steps away, and she starts looking at USB sticks. I say in the most polite and pleasant voice with as much bubbliness as I could muster. Oh no, not there, just to the left, and she spots them. I tell her she's got it, and continue my business. She grabs the battery she needs, but then pauses and dramatically says, "You know what, I'm not going to buy these. I'll go to another store that will have decent customer service who will help me," and storms out, while her grandchild is staring at her like a confused Bambi. I said, "Okay, goodbye," as soon as she said that, and she stormed out with her very confused granddaughter. There are harsher demons to care about in retail beyond a passive-aggressive woman who expected me to mind read and didn't politely ask for help. Besides, it was 20 minutes after we opened. I wasn't awake enough to care. Edit. Sorry my friends, I didn't realize that I missed writing this, but it was her old battery she was just handing to me, not from the store, and she gave me no conversation, just stared into my soul. It was very strange. Edit 2. Wow, guys, I didn't realize I had so many upvotes. That's insane. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the love. Oh. Me and my housemates during college were eating dinner. Guy A had left some dirty dishes on the kitchen counter and forgot about them. Guy B cleaned it up and told Guy A that he has to clean up after himself. Guy A asked what he'd done wrong and Guy B said something along the lines of, "If you don't know, I won't tell you." That went on for some time. The rest of us were amazed at how petty Guy B was. It sounded like a marital spat. I had no idea my mother went under the alias of Guy B. No alias, she just goes under Guy B. My wife and I have been planning on going on a weekend-long couples retreat for 3 months. We lined up the babysitters, her parents and mine, set aside the necessary funds, and waited in anticipation. The weekend finally comes. We drop the kids off at my folks' place because they are watching them for night 1. They can't watch the kids for the second night because of a play my younger sister was involved in. There was also a storm happening at the same location our retreat was planned. My mother-in-law is a fearmonger and told us not to go because she feared for our safety. The place we were headed gets storms frequently, and occasionally there is a tree that falls over, but that is about it. Anyway, she really doesn't want us to go, but my wife and I need a break from the kids, so we say we are going anyways. She then calls my wife and spends a half hour on the phone crying to her, literally crying, about not going for fear of her child dying and leaving her grandchildren orphaned. Sunday evening when we return, we find out that she had picked up the kids that day at noon, meaning she had left them at my parents' place the night before, so my mother wasn't able to go watch her daughter perform in the play. We asked her why she backed out, and she said she was too stressed to deal with the children. She bailed on watching her grandkids for a night because we went on a trip that she thought was too dangerous, causing issues with my parents. Edit. Phrasing. Back during my degree I was doing an essay about typographical trends. My lecturer and I had a disagreement about something to do with another project. Something about a display or something, I don't quite recall. I handed the essay on time, but with each word successively in Arial, Helvetica and Gill Sans. Drove him nuts. Did you do it manually? Must have taken ages. Yes, more or less manually. Might have missed some. Ultimately it worked though.